Hi there everyone, I'm back with new Hit or Miss series, and today we're gonna do something quite unusual. We're gonna go and see what's on the top auction this day on Old Masters, Christie's evening sale. That's gonna happen tomorrow, 5th of July, so yes, so I'm gonna tell you what are the best lots to watch and what are interesting stories related to them and what are again lots to avoid. There's something about them that's coming up. And this is the painting I want to talk with you about. Guido Cagnacci, an Italian painter of Baroque era, very middle of 17th century, I'm sorry. Why is it so interesting to me? You know, when I just saw it in the catalog, have a look, I was just amazed. You know why? I went to my Instagram and see what I found there. You see that? And the very painting here, and I was surprised. I was thinking like, oh my god, are they selling that? But no, let me tell you the story behind this work because it's very, very interesting. Guido Cagnacci, here it's called Allegory of Human Life. When I saw personally this work a year ago, I would say a year and a half ago in Italy, in Cortina d'Ampezzo, there was an exhibition of Vittorio Sgarbi. Vittorio Sgarbi is a famous Italian collector who has a very fine collection of old master paintings. Among them was that, as I thought, very work of by Guido Cagnacci, but it was called Allegory of Time, which I personally believe is a better naming for this painting. Why Allegory of Time, Allegory of Human Life? You see an allegoric depiction of a woman who is holding this sand clock and flowers in her hand, the flourishing one and the one that is dead symbolize this time flow. And all other elements on the painting are actually there for a reason. They all symbolize something. And I was thinking like, oh my god, how it comes that they're selling this painting is glorious. And already at that time I had an idea, maybe that's not the very same painting. And really I read the annotation in Christie's catalog, and they are saying that there are reportedly 3 versions of this painting, 3 autograph copies. That means 3 very works by this very artist, Guido Cagnacci. So it's not a copy, not a studio work, it's by himself. That happened, that artist sometimes made works in multiple copies, and they claim that their work that they are selling for, they want to sell for at least £100,000 is the best of them. And I'll prove you why. Have a look. I love this, you know, find 10 differences in the paintings. Let's start from the hand of the right painting by Christie's. Have a look here. When I just saw this left hand of allegory of this woman, have a look. It is the painting, all these layers of paint, that was supposed to be luminous one, transparent, they are now washed out by a later restoration. How do I see? Just have a look at this hand. You know, you don't see that much of a light play, and actually the fingers, they look quite like abrupt, you know, cut down. Why so? And yeah, my picture is not that good. However, we can still make the zoom and see the difference. Even by the flower, have a look at the flower here. It's quite, yeah, it's quite solid, we see it, while the other flower here, and its stick is like washed out, you see? Here it's like solid, and here it's disappearing. Interesting, isn't it? So, and yeah, hand here is way more vivid, alive than here. Here's really washed out. So that's the first difference. Flowers and flowers, and flower here is in a way better state. Here, yeah, we can see later additions and totally washed out here. Another thing that was another striking thing is this. Do you see this very shadow on her shoulder? And we come to this very painting. No shadow at all. Again, it's overwashed by a later restorer. Have a look at the neck. Here, how is the light going here? And here is a totally different paint application, totally different. Again, we see more kind of layerish, luminescent colors of the flesh here, and here is more like flat. You know, when it happens, this flat color, when when a painter initially put various layers of oil, and when a restorer later takes off the old varnish, he by accident takes out some of these layers, and that's how something that was like presented in volume right now looks very flat. And that's what happened to actually this painting. Not that it's not that awful, but again, look at the hand here. I know it's not a very good resolution, but whatsoever. Have a look. You see again light and dark. Here the hand is is okay, is good, but again a different dark side here is different, but not that bad. Maybe even this hand I like it worse than this one, but here it's quite obvious, and you can see by this shade that it's totally washed out here. Then let's have a look at the face. When I looked at the face here, and very good resolution of the image thanks by Christus, we can see clearly the face. I see this typical 19th century restoration editions. That's what they did. We were talking about in my previous Hit or Miss video. You see the lips. It was certainly added the lips. The eyes, they look like a little bit brighter. And let's have a look at this painting. It's more kind of a blur, more kind of this sfumato effect that was popular at that time in Italy, thanks to Leonardo, was still popular hundreds of years later. But again, we can see that their teeth were added here, no teeth here, we see it. And I really believe that the face was retouched and kind of photoshopped with actual paint by a later restorer. Another very, very interesting and striking thing that we say. Actually, I looked closely at the whole painting, and I saw differences in this very column or table whatsoever. But another thing that really was like ugly. Have a look at this very painting, legs here and the tissue here. All look quite natural, like getting out of the dark, and compare it to these very legs and tissue here. I just absolutely hate this shade. What's that? Look how natural it is at this right leg of the girl, and on her left leg, and how like ugly it is on the painting that is with Christus. It's just literally different, and you can see it with your eye, and that's it. And there is a difference in tissue here, you see. Okay, it made differently, and here is way better. So I don't think that the one with Christus is the better version of all the three. I don't know where the third one is better. And when I made this kind of a precision on this very painting, look what I've seen. Do you see this greenish part? And here it goes right by the edge of her figure, of her body. Here we have again this greenish. Do you see that? Again, greenish here. First of all, I was thinking like this is kind of a repainting. Maybe that was a damage to the surface or something. Again, how much of this green here? We can see that no green here, like kind of washed out. And again, this greenish. Again, we see this greenish here, and not not a hint to that very tint here. Look at this, how we can actually distinguish. Have a look, like a normal flash here and these greenish parts. What does all that mean? And then I understood that that's probably the layers of this very old varnish. I don't know why it became this greenish. I don't know, maybe it's a yellowish varnish that gives this kind of pattern on this dark surface. However, that means that actually supports my theory that the hand was washed out, and not only the hand. The restorer was taking out this old varnish, the traces, these greenish traces of which we do see here, and he took it from the body, he took it from the flower with the color from the flower stick, and but he didn't take it from the surface actually. Have a look here, the column, it's pretty visible. It's pretty visible because the varnish, this old one, which gave that dark greenish tint, was taken out. But here he didn't bother taking it out, taking it away. And it's still out there, so yeah, a little bit strange. Is it the best copy? I don't believe, because this one that is with Vittoria's Garbi collection is way better. And actually this very painting is presented without frame. What does that say? That could you imagine like a really good painting surviving that is kept in a nice condition, atmosphere, surviving till our days, but that is kept without frame? No, without frame, you would imagine like contemporary art. Yes, it goes well without frame, but not all master, not Italian Baroque painting without frame. So that means that the painting was living kind of obscured, difficult life, and here we see the frame, and I can even suppose that that's the original frame, the original one from the epoch, because it suits well this painting. And this one is kind of naked. Yes, she is naked, and the painting itself is naked. And the restoration was really bad. And you may say like, okay, I'm gonna buy it, for example, and take it to a good restorer. Yes, that's what definitely should be done, because the painting has a great potential. However, not everything could be taken back. For example, the hand, it's already washed out. What are you gonna do with the hand? You're gonna paint it over, of course. A good restorer would do that, but the original paint is taken out, and there's not further overpainting wouldn't be done by the hand of Guido Cagnacci. It would be some restorer, and that definitely lowers the value of the painting itself. So that's very interesting. That's what I say to you: go to museums, take photos, and you never know, one day you're gonna spot the very painting like this on sale, and you're gonna have this opportunity to compare or just to recognize the hand of the artist. For example, if the painting is unattributed, and that's when you're gonna find this your very sleeper, your very hidden gem, and you're gonna succeed. So a very interesting fact. Let's gonna see how it will do. Let's go further. Yes, the painting that is next in the catalog is this one by Carlo Dolci. Carlo Dolci, look at the painting. It's just amazing. Thanks to Christus and their very good quality photographs. Look at her face. Carlo Dolci is also an Italian painter, again from Baroque epoch, but he was not exactly a Baroque painter. You know, he was from Florence, and Florence at the time of 17th century was still kind of conservative part of Italy and Italian art. They were still trying to reproduce academic style of paintings. They were still trying to reproduce Raphael and his traditions and all that stuff. They didn't embrace that much new trends introduced by Caravaggio and these chiaroscuro effects and all that stuff. So Florentine painting was for a long long time forgotten, and is now like gaining pace only right now. It's coming into trend, into fashion, because there were actually nice painters out there, Carlo Dolci among them. And interesting fact is that his surname. Dolci in Italian means sweeties, so he's kind of sweet, and that's exactly what his painting is all about. He's so sweet. He resembles in that he's characteristic to Murillo for me, because I believe that Esteban Murillo also do have this sweetness in the face of Madonnas that he paints, and Carlo Dolci is not that far from him. What I do like is typical to Fiorentine school of that period are those colors, this yellow, pink, blue. It's so nice. The skin flesh tone is so tender, it's so vivid. This pinky skin, it's beautiful. And look at her face. It's just so lively. It has such an expression, it has such purity in it, and yeah, a really remarkable work. So I do certainly recommend you follow that and put your attention on Florentine school of 17th century. It's not a typical Baroque, but it's very interesting, and there are painters like Carlo Dolci worth following and worth bringing to life and to light. What's interesting about this Vera painting is that it has a very intriguing provenance. First of all, they didn't know that that's actually Saint Agatha, and they didn't know that that was Carlo Dolci when the painting first emerged at auctions. Then in 20th century it was considered to be by Ingres, a French painter, and yeah, I could even understand why they would think about that, because of this painting application and kind of can I call it slick one? Yes, it's kind of the sweetness and kind of an animal, you know, there is an animal effect in it, animal effect in it. It's not like a canvas, it's like a plate. It's so beautiful. And but Ingres was a painting from 19th century, not 16th century. But yeah, that's why what they believed. I guess because of the colors are so vivid, so alive. So yeah, later, and yeah, that's how it emerged in the auction. At the next auction in 2009, like 8-9 years ago, it emerged in Italy, as far as I remember, not in Germany, and was attributed to Jean-Pierre Franck. Have a look, I even found that information. Have a look here. Jean-Pierre Franck attributed, so it didn't even have a name, just an attribution to just a random French painter of 19th century, and was just estimated for 12,000–15,000 euros. But someone at that very auction already had a very good eye and understood that that has nothing to do with French painting of 19th century, and that it's a way older and has a way better provenance. You see that? That's a very recent history. It's not like history, it's like yesterday, today, and you can do that too, but just spotting on the paintings. And right now it's on Christie's evening sale. That happens a lot in each and every day on art auctions. That's why I really recommend you keep watching if you like art. So that happens every day. Wrong attributions, ridiculous attributions. That's the case with this Vera painting. And yeah, again, the trend, Florentine school, 17th century. Please remember that. Yes, and here we come to the very portrait, the star of the evening, Clara Serena, Rubens' daughter, painted by himself. Thanks to Christie's, here we have the opportunity to see the mastery of Rubens' hand in depicting his own beloved daughter at that time. It was first attributed, of course, by Rubens, then it was like a follower of Rubens in 19th century, and finally it was gifted to the Met Museum in New York as a Rubens. That was the gift. But when it arrived at the Met, their specialists did their own analysis and thought that no, it's not by Rubens, it's by his follower, probably of 18th century, 17th century, and has nothing to do with the artist himself. And finally they take it off their own collection and then sell it at the auction. And they put it at the auction in 2013, something like that, and it was like had a ridiculous estimate at that time for 10 or 12 or $15,000. That's nothing. It was sold in New York, maybe with Sotheby's, as far as I remember, and art historians that were there and saw this painting in flesh had the opportunity to examine it. All saw that no, that certainly should be by Rubens himself. And for example, how do we know that that was done by the artist? It's not a copy, it's not a attempted copy or something like that. It's a so-called pentimenti, Italian word, and here we see that that means that you start painting something, then you understand that no, you're gonna do it in the other way, and you just overpaint this part or just move the direction. And sometimes it becomes visible within time when the layers of paint start to become visible from other layers of paint. And here we see this kind of a pentimento. Have a look here. Firstly, he painted her ear here, or maybe here, and then decided to move it. So that's a clearly sign of him thinking, oh no, let's do it like that. And it's a very rare portrait of her. Like most of the art historians believe that it was painted like at once. She was sitting behind him, he just made his brief sketch, and that's it. However, some of them believe that he made that portrait to post-mortem, as they call it in Latin. That means that when she died, he decided to make a painting of her to remember. And for example, her gown here, the whitish one, and the colors of the painting symbolize that she is now gone. But I do believe that he was painting when she was alive, sitting in front of him. And look how wonderful the eyes are, and that sparkle in the eyes and the tones of the flesh. Well, the painting that time at Christie's was sold at $600,000. And could you imagine, like, something of a copy or whatever being put on the market by the Met and their art historians, but they were proved wrong. The market understood that that's something way bigger, and right now it is to be sold at Christie's. Look at the estimate: 3 to 5 million Great British pounds. It's like $7 million. It was. Let's have a look. It's very interesting how it's gonna perform at tomorrow's auction. Very, very interesting. So you would think like, oh, it's already, if someone has bought it for $600,000, he already overpaid so much. How he gonna make a profit? Voila, he did. And the buyer did found the opportunity to prove it with the world authorities of Rubens today, and give that very, not attributed to Rubens, not a follower, not a copy, but by Rubens himself. And here it comes, $7 million right now, several years after the Met decided that that's a rubbish thing. Not a rubbish, but not by Rubens. Obviously it is a remarkable painting, a very, very remarkable one, and so beautiful, so vivid, so lively. Definitely the star of the evening, and everybody is thinking how it's gonna perform, how many bidders are going to be there. And you know, there's so much of a publicity around this artwork, so much of talking, rumors, speaking about that. Everybody is like gambling how it's gonna perform, and actually I believe that that's great, because whoever buys that, imagine Louvre, Abu Dhabi, or whoever, they already would have a painting that is famous around people has already a story behind that, and that's what actually raises its price. So be sure not to miss that auction tomorrow. Tune your computers, maybe you're gonna be live there. And yeah, please share with me what are your best lots. And today is the day for Sotheby's sale. I covered it up in my Instagram, and so be sure to follow me, not to miss the highlights of the forthcoming auctions. And finally, last tip, by the way, I remember that several years ago when we saw this painting, and it was firstly I understood that that's more than Rubens. We put it in our Connoisseur app, the functionality that we will bring here soon to identify the artist, and we did that in our prototype internal one to see what it's gonna tell. And yeah, this very painting was like quickly attributed to Rubens by our Connoisseur AI technology. So definitely another thing for you to follow, and I'd be grateful for your feedback. And if you could be our early bird subscribers, it's absolutely free, but you're gonna contribute to the research in the art field with the latest advancement in artificial intelligence technologies. So that was it, guys. I hope that was interesting for you, and I really hope to continue discussion with you in comments or anywhere on my social media. Thank you for watching. See you very, very soon, and have a great summer, and love art, watch art, and bye-bye.